Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Atlanta Business Radio, and this is going to be a good one. But before we get started, it's important to recognize our sponsor, OnPay. Without them, we could not be sharing these important stories. Today on Atlanta Business Radio, we have Paul Noble with Verusen. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us about your work. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, so we are an exciting space now in supply chain, and we're a supply chain intelligence company. We help global organizations really understand the materials that they need to run their operations and build their products. And so we've developed software that can essentially overcome a lot of challenges from their legacy systems and just make sense of data that lives in SAP, Oracle, Infor, all sorts of whatever the Frankenstein of enterprise systems that they're running their businesses on. We can make sense of that and just make a very simple, fast, and scalable solution for them to better run their businesses.
Now, do you mind educating us a little bit about kind of maybe the term supply chain? And we're hearing a lot about it now there's a problem in the supply chain that things aren't going to where they got to go fast enough and the way that they were pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you explain kind of the macro of supply chain and why there's some issues right now?
Yeah, and it's funny, supply chain is all of a sudden become pretty top of mind for all our consumers as we're getting delays on shipping and, things are popping up in the news. But a lot of these things have been going on for decades, and supply chain has typically been kind of back page for companies. And now it is, really turning into a competitive advantage and customer experience driven and all sorts of great things for the space. But the problem is, you're running older legacy technology, older processes, and bringing that all up to speed is inherently difficult as you're, at a global scale of, think of any major manufacturer or supply chain. And so, the opportunity for us to improve that experience is certainly, why we founded the company and saw a need there after living in supply chain for over a decade prior to founding the company. And, supply chains in general, it's just, you want what you need, where you need it, when you need it. And that's exactly what organizations need. They want to know what they need, where they need it, when they need it to, again, run their operations, build their products, ship goods to you. And we help do that.
And then to further explain it to the layperson, it's goods are kind of made of lots of other goods. And so you want to get the stuff you need when you need it, and you don't want to necessarily have a big pile of one thing you might need in a month just sitting around somewhere. You want everything to kind of be available when you need it, exactly when you need it in order to be efficient. And in some cases now, some of those things that you need are not available, or there's a delay in getting them. And then that's kind of putting kinks in this chain where things have slowed down for some things and people are causing the prices to go way up, maybe unusually. And it's important to kind of have all this data available so you can make informed decisions and efficiently operate your business, right?
Right, yeah. And so when you look at it, you kind of break down materials that, a manufacturing company, pick any one of the Fortune 500s. You have indirect materials, right? These are all the things that you need to run the lines and keep your plants up and running and all those things. It's motors, bearings, drives, all this insurance, to keep assets running. Then you have direct materials. Those are everything that goes into your product. Raw materials, parts in a car, the big one right now is, microchip shortage, right? I can't build a car if I don't have the microchip or any product these days.
Right. So you could have everything you need to build the car except for that piece, and the car isn't coming off the line.
And then you can't get to what, the last stage of materials is finished goods, right? So once the good's finished, then that gets shipped to the consumer. You have they're all built off one another, but you need intelligence across that space to make sure that processes are predictable, inventory is predictable, sourcing those are predictable, and you have a change in that at any time that leads to uncertainty and risk of hitting a service level to deliver a product in 2 days as the consumer expects. So going in and having an understanding of that and giving a lift to organizations where, data's incomplete, data's uncertain. There are a lot of decisions that are made outside of the system that are important to the models that help predict these types of things. Again, that's where we help without having to go through years of data cleansing and passing it to operations and procurement and all these silos that get created and trying to even solve the problem. Just a huge opportunity right now across all of supply chain to help make that less risky for the customer, which means our customers, which are manufacturing companies and global supply chains and utilities and things of that nature. But really, it's all about removing the risk of the consumer where, hey, I ordered something and why is it on back order for 8 weeks? Well, it's because something got kinked up in the process beforehand. And that's what we want to eliminate that risk for both end customers as well as companies delivering those products.
Now, from a standpoint of kind of the evolution of the supply chain industry, there's so much data available, and they're coming from a variety of places. You mentioned silos. Like there's a lot of people touching different things in different organizations, and they all have their own kind of systems that have maybe, like you mentioned before, legacy systems that had worked fine for a period of time. And that's how we always did it, is how we always did it. And there's a lot of fear of disrupting that. Your solution kind of minimizes some of that risk, right? Can you talk about that proof of value kind of system you have that kind of eliminates some of that risk so they can dip their toe in this so that they can test to see if this really is going to be a worthwhile endeavor in a fairly low risk manner? Yeah,
sure. So, if you think of an organization, again, pick any major manufacturing brands, CPG, auto, whatever, they're running likely, whether it, again, like a SAP, Oracle, or a combination of those, you probably have 4, 8, 12 or more sources of truth across those organizations. And so the importance of really understanding the data that lives in the system and then completing the story of, what's this material? How have I used it historically? And the problem that has happened, especially, from the Black pandemic as a black swan event, is you can no longer use historicals to plan, right? Demand planning and all those types of things. So as that changes, that induces a ton of risk, right? And so what we, as we've developed this technology over the last couple of years and have gone to market, and what we want to say is, hey, let us go into your system, and it's this concept of material truth. Because again, companies only want to know, what do I need? Where do I need it? When do I need it? That's really what they care about. And if they could just trust that and put it on auto drive, that would be, that's the nirvana state. Now there's, how do you get there, right? And so We are very confident in our ability to provide this material truth, which is a combination of a couple of things immediately, and then builds a foundation for them to continue to add more information. So it's what's in your system, right? So material intelligence, data in its dirty and incomplete state, and then what lives outside of the system in the heads of your experts across operations and procurement and finance that we need to add to the model, add to the system, and transfer that knowledge, which is why we use some really complex technology in the back end, but deliver it in a very simple way. So we're using artificial intelligence, natural language processing, machine learning to be able to take the data in the system, cleaning it, understand it to an expert, and combine this material intelligence with the human intelligence to say, we think you should do this based on everything we know. That if you disagree with it, tell us what's living in your head that goes into your decision that the system doesn't know, and then we can transfer that knowledge to that. So doing this across tens of thousands and millions of decisions annually around these materials gives you, a better baseline to be able to run a better network, share this with your suppliers, and inherently remove all that risk from your operations. And you can buy better, and you can just ensure and trust that you'll have what you need, where you need it, when you need it. And the last component of that material truth is there's a lot going on in industry with, and you probably have heard about it, and many of the listeners, Industry 4.0, right? There's additive manufacturing, there's, IoT and smart enabled sensors and assets, and that are going to say, all right, this is likely going to fail. You're going to need to fix this motor in 2 weeks. Prepare for it, right? So we can take those signals now that we have an appropriate data foundation and say, all right, we predicted failure. Let's order the part. Let's get it to the maintenance person in a seamless way. And it just shows up and you don't have to search for it, source it, do all those things. And that's just a simple example, but it really is compounded across, my supplier of microchips is short. Where else can I get this, right? Or and pick any material that you need to use in your processes, and just let's just present that to people so that they can, and companies, so that they can just focus on what they need, which is making paper products, making cars, making tires, whatever it may be. Focus on that. Don't be a data company.
And then your solution is kind of agnostic, no matter what system that your client is using, or whichever their vendors
Correct.
are using. So it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's not tied to one specific kind of technology solution, right? Like you're agnostic. You can work with whatever they have.
Yeah, it's vertical agnostic. We've developed the technology to be vertical agnostic and system agnostic, right? So it doesn't matter what you do. Again, we support pulp and paper companies, food and beverage companies, auto companies, tire companies, whatever it may be, public utilities. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter what system you run on. You have these system and process problems that's agnostic to your business, right? And it's not your fault. It's not going to expose you. It's just going to help you, right? And you've wanted to do things in this way for a long time. Your systems didn't let you. And so, that's an important part where, and a big need in the industry is plug us in, enhance your business today, and drive outcomes of, saving money, lowering risk, all those things, but then prepare, because you're layering in this intelligence, that as your systems change and upgrade and your business changes every day, because it does, that you can make those adjustments as you need to for the future, whether you change systems, change processes, and just make it very simple and reduce, change management even, right? So everything we're doing, while it's very, very complex from a technical perspective on the back end, is purpose-built to be very simple, fast, and drive scale. Because most of the supply chain software and technology of the past is not very scalable. So what you do in North America doesn't translate to South America, Europe, and so on and so forth.
So now, what made Atlanta the right place to kind of for your organization to plant itself?
Yeah. So Atlanta's a great ecosystem. I moved here about 10 years ago. I was in corporate life prior to starting the business. And when we got here, there's just this energy around, as I was looking to start the business, like this is the place to do it. There's a lot of corporates and support, right? So a lot of customers in Atlanta and big brands, and there's a reason for that. And then you have talent and academics, right? So we're very closely aligned with Georgia Tech. Just before moving into our new headquarters, we were at ATDC for a couple of years, and that is one of the oldest incubators, and gave us a connection in line into talent and cutting edge research and technology with Georgia Tech. And that's been a great relationship that's continuing to grow. And then talent, diversity, all the people that you need to build a great business. We saw all those things here in Atlanta, and why we planted our roots here and why we've continued to deepen our roots, over the last couple of years, and then looking ahead over the next couple of years. Just there's a reason the chamber is branding itself as Supply Chain City. So to be a supply chain, any startup in Atlanta is great. To be a supply chain startup in Atlanta is pretty unique, and a great time to be a part of it.
Now, are you finding that Atlanta is becoming synonymous with supply chain across the country? Or is that something we aspire to be, or is that something that you feel that we've attained to at least some level?
Oh, yeah. No, certainly aspiration, but it's here. It's not what we aspire to be. It's what we are. Put us up against any other city in the world of some of the elements I just explained. But big logistics provider and UPS, world-class research and development at Georgia Tech and the other, the HBCUs and all the other universities, and just a great draw for talent. And you see it with everyone that's planting a flag here and opening East Coast hubs, which has made it very competitive for a young company like us. But no, we're here. The flag is planted, and this is definitely my consideration, the supply chain capital of the world.
Now, what do you need more of? How can we help you? I'm sure it's just a constant search for talent is always high on the list, but what are other things you need? Yeah,
so like you mentioned, we're hiring across all facets of the business now, from technology to sales to product, and the additional thing that we are always working is we're approaching a decade-old problem in a new way, right? So how you thought about, we're evangelizing, utilizing technology to solve this pain. So, things like this, spreading the message, making people aware that, hey, if you're looking, if you have pain and you're looking at your overall digital transformation and you're looking to get that jump started, we are the way to help you do that. And there's a new way that can be a lot less painful, a lot faster, and set you up for years to come. And those are really the main things that we're trying to do: evangelize and hire great people, good humans, is our number one core value, to be able to solve a really tough problem and have a lot of fun doing it. So those are the main things that are on our mind.
And then the industries where your solution is most appropriate, you mentioned manufacturing. Are there others?
Yeah, manufacturing, energy, and that's manufacturing across the board. And the technology as we grow is applicable across other industries. It's just there's so much work to do in the one that we're in now that it's going to be a good long while that we're here fully focused on that from a focus perspective.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for sharing your story today, and congratulations on all the success. You're doing such important work for the city and for your firm and for your clients. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity. Really enjoyed it. Thanks.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Atlanta Business Radio.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.